Burkina Faso quit West African Union Bloc. Well, I'm still here, Ajiluchuko Kagwe, and yet Chidima is here also with me. But we have guests that will be discussing this next segment that we have for you. And the guest that we have, analyst we have for you, is John Okafor, who happens to be a public affairs analyst. Good morning, Mr. John. Ifejika.
Oh, thank you, because I don't know. I wasn't born on a 4 day, so I would like to be.
Sorry about that. Good morning. Glad to have you here.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah, and Barrister Chris Arukwe, also a public affairs analyst. Good morning, Barrister.
Good morning. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure to talk, but then we have something really, really topical here that we want to talk about, talking about ECOWAS, which happens to be the bloc that Nigeria happens to come from. And then we are having these issues about Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso quitting the West African bloc. And people begin to wonder, what threat would that even pose to a country like Nigeria when things like this does happen? Bearing in mind that Nigeria is the head of the ECOWAS as we speak right now, that has been chaired by President Tinubu. And then these countries that we are having backing out of ECOWAS are countries that have been taken over by the junta, that is the military. What's your take on that, John Ifejika?
Well, if I may hear you well,
I mean, these African countries that are backing out of ECOWAS,
yes,
they are being taken over by military junta.
Yes.
As against the civilian government that they toppled. And now we are having them say that they don't want to be part of the African bloc.
Yes, when ECOWAS was founded, that was May 28, 1975 in Lagos. There was a treaty that if you want to back out, you give 1 year notice that you are leaving, which Mauritania did in 1999. Mauritania backed out of ECOWAS in 1999. So there's nothing wrong in that. But in this case, it's just the play of America and France. They are the ones that caused this. Because when ECOWAS was founded, they were meant to have one currency, which France, strongly opposed, because it's going to affect their economy. All the Francophone countries that were in West Africa, Guinea, Guinea-Bissau, Côte d'Ivoire, all of them, Benin Republic, all of them were all Francophone countries. And for now, for them to leave CFA and come to use one common currency for West Africa will be a big problem to them. So they've enslaved all the Francophone countries and so on. And now USSR, Russia now is interested in the whole thing, want to recolonize some of these countries. And you see, at the time Nigeria entered, wanted to make trouble, but Russia was there, the big brother, backing them. And France is not happy because it's affecting their economy. Because all the Francophone countries in Africa pay 10% of their income to France. And this, yes, they pay 10% of their money to France. And this issue of reserve, you say you have so many $1 billion in reserve, is kept by the Central Bank of France for them. Just like my small boy who is in secondary school, I'll be keeping his money. If he wants to do anything, he will tell me what he wants to do with the money. Now, then the same time, the boy now grow up and become undergraduate. You are still doing the same thing. At the time will come, the boy will say, no, Daddy, I will not agree to this again. I'm now a full man. Let me control my money. So when this coup happened, and France knew, they started to use Nigeria, because they knew the problem then at that particular time. And Nigeria was ready because of the political quagmire we had in Nigeria. So they were ready to kind of support France. Immediately, this government went and cut off the electricity, forgetting that there was something that was agreed. When they were building the electricity in Kainji Dam, there was an agreement that we will give you 90% of your electricity consumption. Don't build any dam again so that we'll have a lot of water to control the turbine in Kainji Dam, which was agreed. But unfortunately, Nigeria just cut off their light. Algeria, a bigger brother, gave them light, and so on. So they have backing, and they decided, as the military junta, that we are leaving immediately. And they left ECOWAS unannounced. It's supposed to be 1 year notice. And now there's confusion within ECOWAS. ECOWAS is saying that some will say they've not heard. They didn't know that they've not been informed.
Yeah, it hasn't been made official.
All right, let's come to you, Barrister. Now, from what Chon has already, his submission, he made mention of this people leaving without notice. And then the junta, the military in this particular countries we are talking about, they said that they are accusing the regional economic bloc of imposing inhuman sanctions on them. And that is one of the reasons they say that they are leaving the bloc. Now, would you say that it's justifiable for them to do so without even giving the notice earlier?
Yes, when a government is toppled and a new type of government is replaced, the ground norm, the rules engaging those activities change. Now you have a military junta anchored on people's revolution, and that revolution are kind of turned up a new type of system that will not obey or be bound by previously existing diplomatic ties and all those kind of things. So, hinging it on the fact that the sanctions posed on this country, Niger, wasn't debated in Nigeria sufficiently, and knowing that these sanctions to be placed needed approval of the Senate, and knowing that the ties between Niger and Nigeria is deep, culturally, geographically, and all that. The 15 ECOWAS nations pervade 50% of the landmass of the whole of the ECOWAS countries. So they're strategic. They have endpoint mineral resources like uranium and the rest of it. So the nations, the three breaking away nations, are strategic in the eyes of the global international world, in America, NATO, and France.
Russia.
Then Russia, playing, if you kick them, if they kick their ass, you're kicking my ass. So Russia is just there now, triggering off what will happen. But earlier than then, America had gone there to micromanage their interests. They have a drone site in Niger, and they got documents and agreement with the junta that nothing will interfere with their strategic interest in the Niger Republic. While the junta people asked France and their military installations to leave in a few days, and France had to leave. But why is it that America had never spoken about the irregularity of the military takeover? And why has America not left the shores of the Niger Republic? You can now see the strategic interest. So people are saying, did Nigeria manage their internal relationship between Niger and Nigeria as a republic before going to the larger ECOWAS protocols? Many today have said in the papers and all the commentaries that our president gravely failed in that enterprise because Niger was also very helpful in the fight against Biafra during the war, because it has, barring the straight line that divides them, they are connected to 9 states in the Federation of Nigeria. They are presently housing 1,700 displaced, internally displaced Nigerians. So the sanctions, so biting, is not biting on the junta or the military top brass, but is biting on the poor citizens who have their livelihood by trade, communication, and exchanges through
the borders.
Through the border. And they've always lived, barring the separation of, dividing of the continent by the international powers during 1945-46 divide. Niger and Nigeria ought to be the same country. They ought to be the northern flank of Federal Republic of Nigeria. So basically, they speak the same language, they do the same intermarrying. And a whole lot of Nigerian citizens are living in Nigeria, voting and being voted for even. And some have cousins. So the ties are just too much that it is us that have lost in the game. More so when you know that Niger is housing the multi-international military coalition that is actually fighting the Boko Haram people. Without them, Nigeria cannot contain the Boko Haram people because they will use Niger as their launching pad and their safety net and all that. But Niger has always cooperated with Nigeria in terms of even bringing extra military effort. You know, they have military personnel. You know, they are huge and all that. They bring in, during the war, they call them Those are the people who actually change the scenario from an unbalanced fight, a balanced war in favor of the northern insurgents and all that. So what a lot of people are saying is that our president, so-called, acted very rather naively in the fact that what belonged to Nigeria was not managed microfully in such a way that what belongs to us is more important than what belongs to the rest of us. Because one, we would have secured a sectoral advantage before the ECOWAS bigger region will come in. Niger will know that we are dealing with them under a separate pact. Whatever the ECOWAS region says, it doesn't affect what Nigeria had agreed in principle or in writing or by a multinational agreement. But Tinubu, as our president, had not even said anything meaningful. What you hear is, I will not negotiate with them. And this touted return to democracy. Somebody was speaking about it, one professor of international affairs. He says, there's a difference between a people's revolution and a military revolution. He said in the 4 blocks that what happened, people criticized the incumbent
democracy they had.
Incumbent president, the way they were elected, the way they have been governing. So it is people's revolution. And the law recognizes it. It is not just about democracy being superior. What is democracy after all? Is it not the rulership of the people, by the people, for the people and all that? It emphasizes the participation of the larger majority. And when a coup is accepted by the majority of the people, it becomes a people revolution. But because of threat, international threat, America and all that, they force you to define democracy in their own lingo, in their own vocabulary, in the way they think. Coups, whereas it's not bloody, is another means, an efficacious means of changing illegitimate government that were hosted on the people through electoral malfeasance and through all sorts of shenanigans. And we are witnessing it more in sub-region of West Africa. And that's why they were in a hurry to put up this sanction and put up a face. But Nigeria is bound to lose.
Yeah, you said a whole lot, and then Nigeria bound to lose. But then my stake still remains the fact that why should Africa leaders allow the Western world after the the colonization of yesteryears, and still come back with this form of new colonization. When you break away, don't you think that you're making yourself more like a puppet in the hands of the Western world, rather than having that unison, that unifying body to stand and fight these our colonial masters? Just like John Ifejika said about 10% of the resources of the Francophone countries going to France. Don't you think it's high time the African countries need to like sit down and re-strategize and know how to like get the resources of this continent for the people of this continent? What's your take on that?
Yes, actually, I must be frank with you. The point is that the world is divided between the global divide between Russia, China, America, and NATO on one side. So wherever China is, you can find Russia. And the basic interest in all these African countries is our resources. The fight is about our mineral capacities. Nigeria, the interest here is, is petroleum. These countries are strategically interested who governs Nigeria. They prefer the more palliable, not the one that will produce change. They preferred the types of our current president who cut deals with them. He was actually the person who was instigated to rise up and make sure that the uprising in Niger was crushed by bludgeoning the country with unparalleled sanctions, including water, electricity, medicine, and all the rest of it. So they are serving their basic interest by making sure it is divide and rule. They will not even allow the African countries to interchange, to have one currency, to have visa-free interchange, trade, bilateral trade, free flow of it and all that, because it will destroy their own strategic interest of having cheap and cheaper resource for their various products. And that's why we are here. And what is the potential that the Niger break away? Because they say they are breaking away immediately. Some people are now asking, what of the protocol that requires you to stay give a notice for 1 year? They are not duty bound by it. Because one is a military junta. It's a takeover of a government by people who are not regularized by constitutional requirement. So all what you did with them, diplomatic protocols, they will not be bound to obey. And there's nothing anybody can do about their resolve, because they are in advantage. They're even trying to have a country between the three of them and govern as a very big, strong bloc, so which will pose a direct threat to whatever Nigeria thinks it is. Okay. And the 50% of the landmass gives them geographical sovereignty.
Yeah.
All right. Talking about this crisis, this ECOWAS crisis, and the exit of the three countries we are looking at now. The papers today, we saw where articles advising Nigeria that we need to tighten our security. And then we also saw in the front page of the Daily Trust this morning that Nigeria is at the receiving end. Now we have to obtain visa for us to visit this country, or for us to visit each other. We also see that terrorism might just skyrocket again, and then we'll become poorer. This is from some analysts. Now, I want us to analyze some of these things.
If you've been to Niamey, which is this thing, and Nigerian Naira is a legal tender in Niger. It's a legal tender. If you have Naira, you can buy things. You don't need to go and exchange. They allow it. Then on daily market days, people from Castina cross over to Niger to go and sell their goods. And when the Castina people are having their market own, people from Niger cross over to go and do what? And sell. Most of them have cousins. The immediate past president of this country was to retire in Niger. But unfortunately for him, there is war there. So he has settled now in Daura, because he has cousins all over Niger and things like that. So a lot of them there have relations. There's that intermarriage and things like that. Now, entering this country with visa will be a big problem. It's just like telling me to go to Amansi and I will go with visa. You understand me? It will be very, very difficult for us and things like that. So, like he rightly said, Niger will have been Nigeria, but this problem was caused by Otto Bismarck, the then German Chancellor, in 1884 to 1885, when some wicked European countries decided to partition Africa. Then we used to be Alkebulan land, and they begin to partition us and things like that. Now you see yourself in another country. Now you see your own brother in another country and things like that, so dividing us and things like that. Now terrorism will become a child play, because you know there was a time Chad helped in flushing out the Boko Haram. And with these three countries, they have all it takes. And the whole presidents of these three countries, don't forget that Guinea also had a coup. But because Guinea is being ruled by a military, but they don't have what it takes, and they still align with France. But these three have gone to visit Vladimir Putin, and they've had relationship. And they've agreed some concession that they are going to do. They have a very big company in Burkina Faso where France operates. So by the time they asked the French people to leave, do you know what they did? They scattered the whole vehicle. They started destroying the vehicles, those big vehicular moving trucks. They begin to use big this thing to break them, to make sure that they are not useful to the people of Burkina Faso and things like that. This is no white man loves a black man. It's for what they are gaining. It's what they will gain.
So even the romance with Russia is not even for the good of Africa.
Yeah, Russia is trying to fight the West, and this is an opportunity. They want to fight the West because during the time of partitioning, they lost a lot of things, like German now. Togo belongs to Germany. Cameroon belongs to Germany. But after the Second World War, they lost all these things. Cameroon to France, Togo to France, and things like that. So now Russia wants to come in. That's why when I was talking, I said neo-colonialism, to start new, colonizing us afresh. And that's exactly what they are interested in. Because Africa, the whole resources you think of in this world is in Africa. God has blessed Africa, including Nigeria. But because of senseless leadership that we've been having, that is why the issues we are facing in Nigeria makes us look as if we don't know. The wrong people have been ruling Nigeria. Now, the president has to fall because he has a lot of his investment and money in France. He scratch my back, I scratch your back. So when all these things came in, they would have told him, you know that you are still in court. We will support you do this. And he went straight without telling the Senate that he's cutting off their light, is blocking them, and so on. When the Senate rejected, when the Northerners in the Senate said no, he wanted to send the army. The people said no, the army will not go. Because if you go and send the army to go and attack Niger, you might be killing my cousin or my grandmother. Maybe my mom is from Niger and I'm a Nigerian. So they now said no. And it's going to affect the local trade because they do common trade in there. So they now said no, that you are not going to make all these things. Then Russia came in. So we are yet to see. They said when you see a child behaving somehow, there's somebody that has given him the confidence.
Backup.
So they have the backup of China and Russia. And don't forget that Russia is a world power. That was what EU put Ukraine, sending the arms, and none of them wants to send their own soldiers to go and fight there. And now see how the bombardment they are giving to Ukraine.
Okay, we'll continue with our discussion right here in the studio. But we have to take a commercial break. When we come back, we still have other things. We are still analyzing how this will affect Nigeria. I mean, the exit of Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso from the West African bloc, how it's going to affect Nigeria as a country, and other things that we need to know about the exit. Right now, let's take a commercial break. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
My champs, they use energy at school. I know because imagine the energy they may have used up to return home this transform every day.
Your champs need nourishing energy. Give them the new and improved Milo at breakfast.
It has nutrients that support energy release to help champs get the most out of their active days.
Milo!
In line with its urban renewal agenda, the Saludo administration has started the Operation Clean Up Onitsha, Oka, Nnewi, Ekwulobia, and other major cities in the state. The governor, Professor Charles Chukwuma Saludo, has already set the pace by personally joining in the desilting of gutters and drainages in Ochanja and its suburb. A sustainable, clean, green, and livable Anambra is possible. So, join.
Ready for school? Yes! My champs, they use energy at school. I know because imagine the energy they may have used up to return home this transform every day.
Your champs need nourishing energy. Give them the new and improved Milo at breakfast.
It has nutrients that support energy release to help champs get the most out of their active days.
Milo!
African unity, Niger Republic, Mali and Burkina Faso quitting the West African bloc, ECOWAS. We're talking about the impact it will have on Nigeria and then Africa at large, because sometimes when things like this begin to creep in, it emboldens these European countries to even take it a step further. Who knows, maybe Nigeria, Ghana and the rest might be the next countries that they want to show their might on. But then we still have our analysts in the studio still talking about the outcome of this and then how far it will go and the reach of it. Let me come to you, Barrister Chris. Now, for a country like Nigeria that can't even afford to have any form of instability based on the population that we have here and then the spillover and the effect it will have on other African countries, what then do you think that a country of ours can actually do in order to either fend off Russia and its might, and then probably get to have these countries come back into the bloc so that we can be more formidable?
Yes. There's been a lot of talking going on about negotiating. Mm-hmm. And nobody knows, because the people, the three countries, are not in a mood to negotiate. But the international scholars are saying the way to go is to remove the mischief, remove all the sanctions, and pretend that you're normalizing situations, or you're normalizing relations. And then you can now send people who can talk with these juntas. And if you recall, in the early days of the military coup, certain people went to see the heads of the junta. They were refused even entry.
But individuals went.
And when a certain grade of people went,
they accepted.
They almost had I think they even slept over. So this is Nigeria for you. They know who they can tolerate. Somebody was saying this morning in the television, where it was Senegal, there was a military coup either in Senegal or that. Ujoma Dekwe was the foreign minister, and he was asked to go and speak to the juntas and all that. Ujoma Dekwe didn't go directly. He went and sought the help of some ministers in the region. And those people who are brothers to the country in question, I'm not sure whether it's Senegal or all that. So I think it's Gambia, yes. So when they now left, these people now saw their brothers coming with a Nigerian personnel, and they melted, and the talk began, and the agreements were reached under 1 year to leave the scene and not to destroy the democratic norm. The next in line, who was the Speaker of the Parliament, was made the head of government. And Nigeria clinched a diplomatic triumph from such exercise. But you can see it in this government. We don't have that type of acumen, sagacity in any of the politicians who are in the cabinet. Who do you look up to in this present dispensation who can do that diplomatic overkill?
Is it Wike that is chasing Fubara?
Who do you think?
Oh.
This is a government of, I don't want to use words. This government lacks all that is needed in a democratic situation. What we have is a tale of fraud. This person collected 30 billion, this person collected 300 billion. You now talk about this billion as if there are peanuts that are sold in the supermarkets. So it baffles me. Where is the government? And the whole of Africa knows that Nigeria has become a laughable stock. Because all the fallout from the election tribunal, the certificate saga, the drug background are global issues. They are no longer like this is an internal matter, the internal gossip in Nigeria. They know we have a president that is crippled by a lot of deficits. Because otherwise, this is the time to arrange a secret diplomatic shuttle. Somebody has suggested Abu Salami as the only man who these people can listen to. But it's late in the day because one, these people can never listen to you about allowing the former president to come back.
No way.
What you can negotiate out is to normalize relationship on the basis of parity, that this is a government to government, and be pleading with them to restructure in such a way that democracy can return as early as possible. Meanwhile, these people can cripple our electricity infrastructure and institution because one, the water you're using is refueled, re-energized by the waters from Niger Republic. If they do their own dam,
You're in
Black would dry up. And in order not to, for them not to build their own internal dam to power their own electricity infrastructure, you agreed to supply them with a basic 60-90% electricity requirement. And you breached that internal protocol, our agreement, and went and cut off electricity supply to the teeming population of the whole nation. It is not that it's targeted. When America does some of these diplomatic shuttles, they go for the leadership, just like Israel and the Palestinians. You know, they go for anywhere Hamas leadership are living. If it's in Babylon, Lebanon, any place, they go there and fizzle these people out. You're not targeting the junta because you don't have the military capacity to engage them in anything.
Still, what you talk about falls back at what you said earlier is he didn't negotiate very well. I mean, he didn't consult very well before taking the decision.
And we're stuck in it. We're stuck in it. If any more diplomatic maneuver is made by Niger, Nigeria will get the brunt. All the Boko Haram people who flew over in Niger are still there. 100 and something thousand refugees are living in the country. And you are starving all these people. And all the cows, the big cows, you know these cows, there are 2 types or 3 types. These ones that have very big hornback, actually from Niger. And it's all these outside bordering states that import these types of cows and bring them down here for sale and all that. So there's a huge market. There's a huge economic blockage that's neither benefiting Nigerians nor benefiting the Nigerians. And then you don't talk about the refugees who they can ask, please, today is your last day here, you gotta start going.
Okay, yeah, the Nigerian refugees over there.
Yes, IDP, they have IDP.
It's the same
there.
country. It's the same country. It's just a border. Just like going from here to Amansi. Some less.
Yeah, I remember when we served now, some of our core members, they always go over there to get something. Just like you said, there's a particular day that they allow people to go there to sell their market or to buy things and all that. So I know we have been like that.
It's a blunder like every other blunder in Nigeria. What would have happened is just to go and negotiate your internal business. We know that we all have the same type of business. ECOWAS, you want to protect an issue, a notion that democracy is being toppled. Who does this democracy belong to? Is it not the people? You have to talk and distinguish between the people's revolution and the military push. If a good government is working and a group of military people come and disrupt a beautiful government, the people will come on the street and protest against the military. Or if they cannot protest, they keep quiet. But in this case, 90% of Nigerians were in jubilation because something like a godfather had come. A savior had come. So it's not about a military push that doesn't define democracy as the way you want it. It is the will of the people that was playing out. And it would have allowed the people of their will, the exercise of their will. And they negotiate with the junta. How long do you want to stay? How long is it reasonable for you to stay? In other countries that people have stayed for 1 year, we're saying, why don't you stay for 6 months? These people will say, no, we're going to stay for 2 years. And before you know it, 2 years is all gone. And then you still retain your internal advantages. They will still be in the bloc. They will still allow you to have the waters. They will still protect you in the joint military forces that are guarding against the Boko Haram. Actually, they are the people who are sustaining the war against the military something. And it will be a laissez-faire. It's an open door thing. They will allow these people to go and shoot, kill Nigerians, and come over to Niger where they have their sovereignty.
Okay, coming to you, John, I think ECOWAS was established in the year 1975, right?
May 28th, yeah?
Yeah, 1975, to promote economic integration of member states.
Yes.
Now, would you say that so far they have done that? We are talking about toppling of democracy, because what actually brought about this junta issue is because people felt that democracy, like the government of the people by the people, like we normally describe it, it's not what they are seeing. They are seeing a different thing altogether. Leadership tussle in Africa. The leaders just want to enrich themselves and the poor masses suffer. So their responsibility as an economic bloc, as a West African bloc, to galvanize and put things in order, did they actually live up to that responsibility?
No. In May, that same year, 28, then by July 27th, the chairman, who happened to be General Yakubu Gowon, was toppled. Just 2 months after the formation of ECOWAS. And no any country, to worsen it, he was in OAU meeting in Addis Ababa. Now, Idi Amin was then the chairman of OAU. Idi Amin told him, sorry, brother, I can't help you. And the ECOWAS country themselves did not do anything. They would have said, let us unify ourselves and come and fight Nigeria. They didn't, for sending away our chairman in a coup, that, but they didn't do that. So I don't know where Tinubu got his own idea that he was going to fight, to go and fight war in Niger. I don't know whether he has his own Kakanfo's army that he is going to use to go and fight that war and so on. Because the National Assembly have told him already that no. Now, actually, trade was going on because when you go to Republic of Benin, Togo, Vono product Vitafoam, they carry their materials, already made this in, and cross over the border to go and dump. They have distributors. It's just like that. It helped. They go straight and they dump this thing. They sell and they bring money. They come to Nigeria to buy things and this thing. Then Daviva, most of those companies that made clothes, they, at that particular time, Côte d'Ivoire, for example, have a very good Ankara. But for your information, which we don't know, they were making it in General Cotton Mill in Onitsha. They will bring their own standard and specification. Then the General Cotton Mill will print those clothes and send to them. General Cotton Mill is making the money. And they will now in return bring those clothes back to Nigeria. Now tell me, where is that General Cotton Mill today in Nigeria? It's where they have, I think, one of these beer something.
Hero.
That's where they have one of these beer something. Just to tell you the kind of country we are in. You understand me? Now, we used to have, what do you call it, the Niger, whatever, in Kaduna, where they have the best clothes, and we are selling in other countries. But today, they've all gone moribund. So China have come in, bringing in everything. So we cannot say this is what we have. Because that trade was really, you can go to Ghana, all you need to go to Ghana is the yellow paper bag, paper, the booklet for your malaria and so on, this thing. And you cross the border. And then some other companies, transport companies, we are traveling from here to Ghana, to Côte d'Ivoire, you move, just like that. When you go to Côte d'Ivoire, there's a place in Togo, you will think that they are Nigerians. They speak a tribe in Nigeria there. Then from Badagry, down from that Atlantic Ocean in Badagry, down to Togo, Benin Republic, up to Senegal, they speak a language. The same language they speak. So you will not know by the time the Nigerian Egwu man gets to Togo, because 75% of the population of Togo is Egwu people. And we have them mainly, basically on that, down of the Atlantic Ocean from Badagry down. You move to Iroko in Ogun State. They speak that language. It's like that. So the trade has been going on, fish and so on, so many things. They come there, the people from Badagry carry their coconut up to Senegal. They do that. These are the trade. But with what is happening now, those people will not find it funny. Especially, they will not find it funny, and so on. Then today, if you want to do something, cow that they were selling 120,000, is now 600,000 naira cow. So for people, that's why I'm looking at some people now, as they are going to get married this year, to buy that cow will be a problem. So that is the situation we find ourselves, and it's not funny.
Well, actually, it's not really funny. Well, I'm sure that most Nigerians will be worried more about the sharing of intel when it has to do with security, because in the papers that we did review today, this morning, 8 of them, and they all had stories centering on insecurity, banditry, and the rest of it all. With this fallout of these 3 countries leaving ECOWAS bloc, makes our borders a whole lot porous. And I'm not even sure Nigerian government have have it in mind to know what to do in order to checkmate this insurgency that is already engulfing us. So on the military aspect, what do you think we need to do in order to fortify our borders based on the fact that we have common boundaries with Niger Republic? Bearing in mind that Mali too have insurgents in that country too, because they had their own little problems with insurgents that they were even infiltrating down to Nigeria. You understand? So when you talk about the insurgents in Mali, talk about the one in Burkina Faso, in Niger Republic, then trickling down to Nigeria, how then do you think that we have to contain all of this?
Now, let me give you an example. The border, when you live near the border, let me use Ecom. When you shout in Ecom, people in Cameroon will hear. Now, if we want to go to Cameroon and we don't have paper, we'll carry baskets on our head with our clothes are there. They will think we are going to farm. We'll cross the border, the so-called security are there, thinking we are natives going to farm, not knowing we are entering Cameroon. And we'll go like that and enter Cameroon. Now, the soldiers are in between Oka and Amansi. There are so many ways, if assuming Amansi is Niger Republic, you don't need to go to that point where they block the road. All you know is just, you get to that place, you corner the other side where the Mopol are, you move, and they beat the soldiers there and enter Amansi. So the border definitely will be porous, because criminals don't come into a place with vehicles. It's those ones that are holding vehiculars movement that soldiers will, or the people at the border will hold. They go to other places as if they are going to eat something, and from there they enter. So our border had been porous, but now it will be more porous because a lot of people will infiltrate, because they don't just come. If terrorists want to come in a place, they don't move. Because by the time you see 1, 2, 3, 4, you ask them, what are you doing? Where are you going to? Who are you? But this, one person will pass. They've given themselves a junction, will stop at so and so place and wait. So they be coming one. By the time you know it, they've made a gang of terrorists, and they come in. So we are in trouble, really. We've been in trouble before, but we are more in trouble now than at that particular time. And the way things are, it seems that the military of Nigeria cannot control this. I say this because I was expecting...
Are you saying this based on the fact that these three countries are going to unify and then probably want to come and...
Of course, if they unify, they will deal with us squarely.
These three countries are not even up to the population of Nigeria. So
it doesn't matter, because we're talking of landmarks. And now, when you talk of... You see, when you look at Israel, it's not up to the population of Oka. The people who live in Oka, assuming we have 3 million people here in Oka. Do you understand me? But the armament, what they have,
and the support they are
yes,
to get from
and if you get about 10 jet fighter coming to
we
it,
get our own support too from
who?
America.
America. How many times have they supported you? You seem na support. What are they supporting you for? Where have they brought any military something? America is funny. When they went to Afghanistan, do you know what they did? They did not use their own helicopter. They went to Russia and bought about 30 or so, 130 helicopters from Russia, costing them money, and they sent it to Afghanistan. Why didn't they bring their own? They had more sophisticated, but they didn't. They kept their own and went to buy from Russia and sent to Afghanistan. That is it. They want to keep their military might secret. So if we are thinking that America will come here and fight, America will just bring you one Molu plane and ask your young men to go and fight. That's all. They won't fight. They won't see their soldiers coming in. They will not.
Oh, I'm not even praying that you get to that level. Barrister, now do you see that? Do you think that this negotiation of a thing will ever happen? Because from the papers, we are seeing where they are saying that they are now ready to negotiate with these people. But my fear is, are they now ready? Like Mali, Burkina Faso, the juntas, are they ready to sit down and negotiate with us right now?
Yeah, a lot of water is passed under the bridge.
The thinking is that the three military blocs believe that they can do better with themselves, and they're actually on the part of it. And a lot of people now say that if you realize the amount of even infrastructural development in Niger going on, that you will avail. And the people, in spite of the sanctions, that people are having a new lease of life, a new type of life. So the possibility of negotiating to come back to the ECOWAS bloc is rather that slim, because they are not even the first to leave the ECOWAS. Mauritania was supposed to be part of the ECOWAS. Cameroon is supposed to be part of it.
The joint letter with Cape Verde. Cape Verde joined in 1977.
So you now see that the ECOWAS is not a carte blanche. It's not the kind of a miracle drug. And meanwhile, the free people control the land size, half of the total land size, separate into two. They take a 50% chunk. And it's important that if there is any other further international conflict happening in Niger or any of the 3 other countries, Nigeria will bear a brunt of it. Nigeria will bear a brunt of it. And the Nigerian government seems to be on a high horse, not understanding the implication, the military implication of allowing Niger Republic to stand out. They don't understand that there are consequences, fallout, decline in military help, decline in trade and commerce, movement of people from here to there. And you know the number of Niger artisans who are working in Nigeria. They have infiltrated everywhere.
They are miners, most of the miners.
They vote in Nigerian election. They help to put their brothers in power. They have voting cards and have voting identity cards. Nigeria is compromised already. And anybody who is not doing anything concerted to curtail the harmful damage or consequential fallout with Niger is playing, and playing like a fool. Because what people are saying is that we should have micromanaged our relationship, make it our internal secret pact, and then go and negotiate on behalf of ECOWAS.
Probably because our president
is a civilian.
Is a civilian. Also
it's not because he's a civilian. ECOWAS. He has properties in France. So his interest is there, and he's listening to them. And then the election was not properly.
Okay.
So there was in court.
They promised him help.
They promised him help. And they gave him the help.
They gave him all the help.
So let's say the truth.
All right, we need to go because our sports anchor is already here waiting for us. I want to say a very big thank you to you, Johnny Fejika, for joining us on the show this morning.
Thank you so much.
And also to you, Barrister Chris Arupe, thank you so much for being part of the discussion.
Thank you. Welcome.
All right, well, that's it on the show this morning. We want to say a very big thank you to all of you that watched and listened to us this morning. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Chidimma Oranwa, and we'll be closing the show with another commercial.
And I'm Angelo Chukwuka. We're saying thank you for watching. God bless.
Yes! My champs, they use energy at school. I know because imagine the energy they may have used up. To return home this transform every day.
Your champs need nourishing energy. Give them the new and improved Milo at breakfast.
It has nutrients that support energy release